Being a dungeon master in Dungeons and Dragons, it's like being a TA and do mastery checks. You are the only one that know the rules of the game, while everyone tries random stuff. Well, whatever. I hope that somebody at least understood the joke. Okay, so let me start. So programming is art, and probably you already heard this sentence, because if you remember, you already saw our presentation that Professor Auswert did. So if we go into state-of-the-art of educational programming education, we see that Soloway, more than 30 years ago, almost 40 years ago, he conducted a study, an empirical study, where he proposed the rainfall problem. You should have already know this name. And he showed that the majority of the bachelor students, or many bachelor students, failed to actually code and solve the problem that was given to them. More than 30 years later, we still talk about the rainfall problem. And Simon, for example, is talking that this problem is becoming harder. And if we go on, we also see that people are actually trying to understand how difficult this problem is. There are even more other publications that discuss how programming is hard. But today we will not discuss about this, because in the previous seminars, you already tried yourself to program the rainfall problem, showing how difficult it is to program. And the seminar was from Matthias Auswert. Then you heard the talk of Luca Chiodini, a curated inventory of programming language misconceptions, where we show that when you start learning to program, you may also have some misconception about the concepts you are learning. And finally, last week, Igor Moreno Santos presented Towards Sound Notional Machines, a Lambda Calculus crash course, where he was talking about how we prove that notional machines are right. And this is where we start today. So today I will show you how notional machine that we are developing, the platform we are developing, and hopefully you will understand better what a notional machine is. So in here you have a definition of notional machine. A notional machine is a pedagogic device to assist the understanding of some aspect of a programming. Fincher et al. Last year. So, and others, sorry, Fincher and others last year. So, so a notional machine can be, for example, be a metaphor that allows you to teach some concept about programming. So where you can find notional machines? Well, there is a website where you can actually see a list of those notional machines. But today, we will actually focus on expressions as trees, which is the one we are actually working on. So what is expressions as trees? Well, as you can expect from the name, if we have an expression, for example, 1 plus 2, we can represent this expression as a tree. So in here, we can see that the smallest tree is actually composed by a single node, which, for example, is 1 or 2. But if you have a complex expression like 1 plus 2, you see that you have to construct a tree with multiple nodes. A hole represents a plug where you can plug in any other expression, for example, in this case, 1, which is the literal 1. So this notional machine is inspired by abstract syntax trees, and we want to use this in order to teach students how actually expressions are evaluated. So in here, if you actually did the small task I sent on Discord, this is actually the solution of that task. We can go through it later. But then you can have even more complex trees. I just want to show you some ideas in here. It's not really that you have to understand what this code is doing. Just remember that every expression can be visualized as an expression tree. So we built a website, a platform that, we have a website where we run our tool in there, and this is Expression Tutor. You can visit it. We have a lot of stuff you can do. You can create activities, sequences. You can actually play around, which we will later. And we have a lot of resources in there where you can find what an expression is, how you evaluate an expression, and so on. So this is an activity. And when I say this is an activity, is one example of a task we can require the student to do. So in here, we have an expression, 1 + 2 plus the string hello. And we ask the student, well, can you actually create a tree out of this? So we ask them to create the tree first, like I'm doing right now. We also want to know which is the root. Let me zoom in. OK, we can sort and then zoom in. But creating the tree may not be enough to see if they understand what's going on in here, because now we know that every sub-expression, which is plugged into a whole, can evaluate to a value, evaluates to a value 2. So in here, we know that this is a number, and actually it's the number 1. This is number 2. And so now we can see that this, when we have a number plus a number, we actually can get back a number. So again, this is JavaScript. Maybe in other language, this could be different, but this is a JavaScript example. And the result is 3. We know that this is a string, and the string hello. And in here, now we have a number plus a string. And in JavaScript, this results in a string. And it's the string, which I don't have it here, but I can type it out. It's the string 3 hello. So in here, if the student is able to do this, not only understood how this is parsed by the interpreter of JavaScript, but also is able to understand what is the result of this expression. But basically, it starts from top to bottom for constructing a tree, and then evaluates the tree from the leaves to the top, to the root. So with this knowledge, now I want to go with the core of this talk, and I want to show some snippets of code that we took from the Web Atelier course, that third semester course in our bachelor. And well, I want to say that all the code you will see, or at least the snippets of code that I took from our classes, passes all the tests we provide to them. So the student actually submitted a solution that works. However, we are not happy with that, and we will see why. So this is the first example. This is we asked the students to write an iterator function. The iterator function takes an input, an array, and this function defines inside the closure a variable, current index, which is initialized to 0. It then we have inside the closure a next variable, which contains a function. And this function, basically, when you call next, it will return the next element and update the index. The iterator function returns the function inside the closure, next. So in here now, I really ask the student, OK, this code is fine. It passes all the tests. But now we ask the student, can you show me that you can run this code? And the student writes this line. Const L equal iterator, he calls it dot next and a call. So here I have a question for everybody. I want, whether it's in physical form or on Teams, can you raise the hand if you think this solution is correct? I see some fakes raising of hands. OK, well, if you think that this is wrong, perfect, because this is wrong. If you run it, you get this error. Iterator.next is not a function. And the student sees this error and is like, well, wow. And then you ask him, why do you think this is wrong? Why doesn't it work? Why do you get an error? And he's like, I don't know. But it worked before in the test. And you are like, yes, but is it possible that in the test was working, but now it's not? And he's like, yeah, but it was working. So he doesn't care why there is an issue. He just cares that it worked. In here, then, you in here, what I would do is, okay, let's build a tree out of this. You would ask him to build a tree. In here, I provided it to you already, but the student should be able to create it himself. And now, in order to see where the issue is that we start evaluating from the bottom. So we say, iterator is a function. 1, 2, 3, 4s are numbers, and an array is an array of numbers. In JavaScript, it's just an array. It can contain whatever. Then the function calls actually return a function, because now we know that if we call iterator, we return next, which is a function. But then we have .next. We are accessing a property of an object in there. And this JavaScript return undefined. And so in here now, we are calling a function on undefined. And this is why this returns this error. At this point, the student says, oh, okay, he sees that there is an issue in there. And the actual solution is that you just have to call the function immediately after you call iterator without writing .next. Another example, formatting seconds. So in here, we ask the students to write a function called format seconds, which when we call it, it returns this string, a concatenation of the minutes and the seconds. The student comes with this solution, which as a TA, when I see this solution, well, also right now, I just smile. I smile and I say, wow, this is cool, I guess. And then I start thinking what it does. So in here, you ask the student, what are you doing in here? What do you think the answer is? We are concatenating and creating what you asked. Okay. Can you explain a little bit more? Can you exactly say what's going on in here? And he says, I don't know. Not good, not good at all. I mean, he wrote this code somehow. At least we believe he wrote this code. And so you start asking him, okay, what is this tilde in here? Is tilde an operator? Is double tilde an operator? Or is tilde and double tilde two different operators? The student was already lost when you asked him what the code was doing, so he doesn't answer. But you have to make him understand why this solution, what does the solution do, and maybe also point out why it's a bad solution. By the way, I guarantee to you that this is a solution submitted by a student. So in here again, I will give you the expression tree of this expression, starting from here to here. And you see that we can start evaluating from the leaves. So seconds and 60 are numbers. The division gives back a number. And here I'm already saying that tilde is an operator. Tilde is the bitwise not operator. And in JavaScript, given it takes a number as an input, or well, it operates on a number. It's another operator working on numbers. It interprets a number into a 32-bit integer, and it reverses the bit. And 32 signed integer, 32-bit signed integer, it gives the not version of this signed integer, and then JavaScript interprets the result as a number again. So it returns a number. So you apply it twice for some reason that we will see. Then the colon is a string, the concatenation is a string. Believe me that this is the same as the other side, and you have a string. Up until here, you are not explaining why this solution is wrong to the student or what's going on in there. So in here, we don't only look at the types that every sub-expression evaluates to, but also to the real values. So in this case, I say that seconds is 150, second is 60, easy, and then the division returns 2.5, a double. We would call it a double in other languages, a number in JavaScript. But this is important to say double because numbers in JavaScript are actually 64 double precision numbers. So now we pass it to the bitwise not operator, and it returns -3. Okay, cool. And if you apply it again, it returns, evaluates to 2. Okay, so in here, what it's doing is that it's actually doing mat floor. It's approximating the number to the floor of the value that it passes. And so now you get in here concatenation to colon. And if you do the other side, you see that in here is doing a modulo, so it's 30, and actually the modulo always return what we would call an integer. And so this operation that first returns evaluates -31 and then 30 is actually useless. But the result is correct. But so you show that in here this is useless, so it's not the best solution you could have written. But there is also 2 other things that we should care about. First, where the solution comes from. Well, easy, Stack Overflow. You go, you search, JavaScript seconds to minutes and seconds. Our students are very good. Professor Pautasso told them that they have to scroll down and take the solution from the answers, so they scroll down. No, it's not here. He was actually scrolling a little bit too much, and he went to the second one. But it's fine, because he read this, then somehow he changed that. But at least he did something, which he didn't understand, but he did something. But I want to have another point on this. In here, in the solution, in Stack Overflow, it says that tilde is a shorthand for mat floor. Is it? Is it really? Let's test this out. Let's see. If we pass 1, both return 1, evaluates to 1. If we pass 20, 0, 1, both evaluates to 20. Here is still fine, but now, what if we pass a value that is higher than 2 times elevated 31, -1? Because we're talking about sign, 32-bit sign integer. Well, now you see that this is actually wrong. And if you don't know what you are doing, you should not use tilde for doing mat floor. And in here, you really show him that his solution could be right, depending on what you asked, but it's not always right. And he should know if he should use mat floor or the double bitwise not operator. Last example. We asked the student that we want to create a function that checks if a parameter we pass in the function is actually a function. Sorry, I said the word function too many times in 5 seconds, but basically in here you see that we are initializing my function to an arrow function, which does nothing. But if we have this is function and we pass it, we want to return 2. This is in the implementation that he submits. Again, in here, I look at this code and say, wow, he's a genius. He is a genius. Because cool is, in here, there is an empty object to string, so it's accessing the property to string, which is a function. On that function, it is accessing the property call and calling this call property, passing the function that you want to check. So in here, I will not provide the tree. It's an homework for you to try it out. But the tree here is not really enough to actually answer this, the enigma here, because you should actually know what call and toString do. Call is a function, it's a method that is defined on the prototype of function and allows to change the context to bind a new context in a function. So in here, we are changing the context of toString. But really, in order to understand what's going on, we should actually see what the specification of JavaScript is doing in here. So I think, let's see if we can zoom. It's a lot of text. I don't want to read it all, but basically it says that if the context the t's value of that the toString function can access in that moment is undefined, you return object undefined or object null if it's null. And basically in here it says that in this line that if you pass anything else, it actually returns a string, object, and the name of the type. Wow. The student knew this. Incredible. So incredible that down here in the note, it says that toString does not provide a reliable type testing mechanism for other kinds of built-in non-program definition object, defined object. And so you should not use toString for this, but you actually should use just type of. Where the solution comes from? Stack Overflow. We go to Stack Overflow, and the student this time was not good enough to actually scroll down and see that he say the safest way is always to use type of. So he just copied exactly from the question. And by the way, in the question, there was also the answer, type of. And now I want to show you that the solution actually can not only be found in Stack Overflow, but what do you think this is? In here, by writing function is function, function to check, Copilot returns the solution, which by the specification of JavaScript is wrong. So, conclusions. It's very important that we ask the student to explain their code. All the solutions I showed, as I said, are passing the test we are providing them. You can argue the tests are not good enough. I agree. We could, but sometimes you don't even think that you should check for those kind of things in order to test it. And the students really don't understand what they are doing, literally. I also want to suggest to use Notional Machine to reason on source code. Today I showed you some example on how to use expressions as trees as a Notional Machine, but there are also other ones, so I suggest you to use them. And if you are teaching a programming course that requires students to understand expressions, you can use Expression Tutor. And if you have any issue, we can help you design some activities.